Chandra can't comprehend how tall the invasion tree is. The original in Kaldheim is supposed to be huge, but this is bigger than the god Eternals of Amonkhet had been. Bigger than anything she'd ever seen. Even tilting her head to the point of pain, she cannot see its crown. She expected Wrenn to say something about it, but maybe her companion's silence on the subject is worse. "Come now, we mustn't take root," is the only thing Wrenn says before she starts moving. The flames within her spit crackle against their containment. Fire is always eager to show how it feels. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Ether Hub. I'm Simon, bringing you more Magic the Gathering lore. Today we continue with the story of March of the Machine, a set that has seen the very fabric of the multiverse changed forever. In our previous video, which you can find linked on your screen now or in the description below, we traveled to the plane of Ikoria as Vivian Reed attempts to stop the invasion of Phyrexia there. What she found was a completed Luca taking his revenge out on the people who had shunned him in life. Though Ikoria and its monsters had a surprise mutation that Elesh Norn couldn't predict. Before we continue, I just want to ask, if you're enjoying the content, please consider supporting it by leaving a like, becoming a subscriber or a member of the channel, and sharing it with friends. And I also just found out that you can leave a super thanks on these videos. So if you're able to, and you think my content deserves it, go ahead and leave a super thanks as well. Now let's continue with the March of the Machine story with Chapter 7, Cathartic Reunion, written by K. Arsenault Rivera. Chandra and Wrenn had traveled, despite fell warnings from their friends, to New Phyrexia. Kaido, Kaya, and Tyvar had painted an image of this foul place that, upon seeing it with her own eyes, Chandra didn't recognize. They said it was like a living monster, and that you were in its belly. Instead, Chandra saw almost nothing. The world was encased in white porcelain and a blinding light. This truly was Elesh Norn's domain. One of the first things they spot is the tree, the corrupted seedling of Kaldheim that granted the Phyrexians passage to the multiverse. It was something you couldn't miss. It was so big that Chandra guessed that you could spot it from any point on New Phyrexia. To her, the crown of this tree didn't even exist. Wrenn said nothing of the giant tree, her target, but encouraged them to keep moving, her internal fire crackling with an excitement Chandra shared. As they march through the shockingly sparse landscape, they see figures making their way down a tall white needle-like tower. From their appearance, they weren't Phyrexian, but not totally human either. These must be the native Mirrodins. Chandra felt vindicated. She knew there was still life fighting here. Life she would help if she could. They met up with the leader of this company, a man named Koth, a planeswalker, Chandra soon learns. One who's sworn to not leave his home to die. He says they just finished a mission to take down Elesh Norn's scrambling device, the very thing that prevented planeswalkers from coordinating an assault on New Phyrexia, which now allowed her and Wrenn to easily travel here together. Standing with his companion, the Phyresis carrying Melira, they discussed their options and plan. Koth didn't hide his disappointment. Only 2 planeswalkers to fight this entire plane of Phyrexians? Chandra and Wrenn did mention that a third, a time mage named Teferi, would be joining them. Maybe. But there wasn't a lot of faith in those claims. Wrenn was quick to go over her strategy, being a dryad who confused with the essence of trees, using them as she would her own body, and her hearing this tortured seedling cry out for aid. Wrenn was confident that she could meld with the invasion tree and turn it against the enemy. Now, all they had to do was get to its base. Elesh Norn had grown more lax on New Phyrexia, her attention being drawn to the newly available multiverse at her fingers. Still, the World Tree's base was far and wide the most heavily guarded place on the plane. They would need to get creative, and have help if they wanted to make it through. The help Chandra and Wrenn are presented to isn't what they had expected. It was a Phyrexian, introduced to them as Urabrask. Urabrask had been helping with the Mirror Resistance since he returned to New Phyrexia. He ideologically opposes the rule of Elesh Norn, as her dogma stifles creativity, as well as change that's needed for New Phyrexia to survive. There must not and cannot be a single New Phyrexia, and this is what Urabrask fights against. Through his hidden cove on the outskirts of the invasion tree's base, their position is blocked from the prying eyes of Norn and all of her minions. However, a simple glance is all it'll take for her to find them and snuff them out. Their attack must be quick, and Chandra is shocked at what Urabrask suggests. It's the most simple plan she had ever heard, especially in one that would decide the fate of the multiverse. Jace had always thought and then double thought of each foreseeable scenario before finally settling on a convoluted, overly complex plan of action. Now, facing the end of the multiverse as they knew it, Koth would use his geomancy to fling Chandra and Wrenn onto the World Tree. The Mirren Resistance would go out and pick a fight with a small band of guards, draw Norn's attention just long enough to keep the skies cleared, then they would be flung over the divide. As soon as they touched the tree, Elesh Norn would know, so they had to act quick. There was another consideration. Seven, the tree bound to Wrenn, was starting to blacken along its edges, breathing in the oil-laden air of this plane. There was no telling how much longer it could last. Urabrask describes an elf aiding Norn with important tasks near the platform they were aiming to land. Chandra knew who the Phyrexian was referring to, though she too understood the stakes. Opening the possibility of maybe rescuing her was simply an added bonus. They took their positions. The Mirrens shouted a war cry. Koth's fire erupted beneath Chandra and Wrenn as their fated journey to the invasion tree took flight. The travel wasn't as easy as Urabrask suggested it would be. While flying on their metallic platforms, creatures flying on wings of sharp white metal, looking like a mix between a bird and a bat, began to attack them. Wrenn grabbed one, or rather Seven did, using the Phyrexian as a club against others of its kind. Chandra simply melted those coming close until they uselessly fell to the ground below. The flight was indeed quick, and suddenly, Chandra feels the crash of them hitting the invasion tree. The force broke one of her ribs. Suddenly, the white bony plates reinforcing the tree began to shift and take on different shapes. Elesh Norn's tree guard. Chandra quickly douses them with flames, as Wrenn turns her attention to the tree and the ritual that would meld her into it. But the Centurions, they don't press their attack. They collectively open their mouths and speak in unison. They speak a voice Chandra recognizes. Of course. Who else would Norn send? It was Nissa. The lifeless mouthpieces speak the lies of Phyrexia, that with unity comes peace, power, and never feeling alone. Your weaknesses will be replaced with strength, a glorious purpose you will share with your new family. The message doesn't reach Chandra. She's focused on the face of whom she had once cared so deeply for. Nissa floated past the inert guards. It was Nissa, but at the same time, not Nissa. She had two extra arms, one blade-like in appearance, with black oil staining around her eyes. Even when she talked, there seemed to be an interference, as if Elesh Norn was using Nissa as a loudspeaker. Through all of Nissa's lecturing about how great being completed is, Chandra can't say anything but Nissa's name, trying in vain to find anything that resembled hope that the person she once knew was still in there. But somehow, this completed Nissa knew and understood so much about Chandra, her fears, her doubts, her lack of patience, everything. But there was no doubt, it was just Elesh Norn manipulating Nissa's memories. Wrenn attempted something that resembled an attack, but it was stopped effortlessly by the completed Nissa. Centurions tossed porcelain spears at Chandra, most missing her flesh, but pinning her against the tree by her clothing. One ripped through her calf, making it difficult and painful to move. Nissa turned her attention to the Dryad. Using her blade-like arm, she cut through even the thickest branches of Seven like it was paper, each unimpeded strike removing more of the tree folk, until only the naked Dryad remained, buckled over in pain. Nissa revealed that their entire plan was easily deduced by Elesh Norn, and thwarting it was child's play. Their mother of machines had already reinforced the tree, modified it against heat. She sent Nissa specifically to welcome Chandra to her new family. She had known every aspect of their plan from the very beginning. Even now, the last of the Mirren Resistance was being dealt with by a greater force than they had anticipated. Chandra sees hope falling apart around her. The heat of her flames begin to tickle behind her eyes. She must stay calm. Blowing up now does nothing. It may dent the tree and kill everyone around them, but it wouldn't do lasting damage. She wishes Jaya was here, or Gideon. Her fire melts the javelins, pinning her to the invasion tree. She slumps over in pain and looks up at Nissa's completed form. When she speaks this time, it isn't metallic. It isn't Elesh Norn. It's Nissa's voice. her true self speaking through. Again, she begs Chandra to join her, to be with her forever. They would escape pain, responsibility, and just be a family. Chandra paused, fire welling up. For a moment, she considered it. Being with Nissa, being free of fear, of doubt, of the judgment of others. There would always be threats to the multiverse. Tyrants, Bolas, the Eldrazi. Where does it end? And joining Nissa, maybe all of that would finally end, at least for them. She sees past Nissa. Wrenn is still alive, crawling towards the exposed tree, beginning to weave her magic. Chandra wasn't alone. She had a home. She had people she fought for. Though she missed Nissa with every fiber of her being, Chandra rejected her offer. Nissa's demeanor instantly shifted to anger and rage. All of Chandra's stored magic, the power of a burning sun coursing through her, the bottle finally shattered as the pyromancer targeted the blast directly towards the branch of the invasion tree they had landed on. The orange wave was followed by a vaporizing heat directly downwards. The resulting explosion launched Nissa, Chandra, and the Centurion guards from the tree, while Wrenn, who was close to the trunk, managed to hang on. Wrenn was left there, alone, the fate of the multiverse now resting with her. Alright guys, time to break down the latest chapter of the March of the Machine story. First, it's called Cathartic Reunion for a good reason. A reprint of this card that originally depicted Chandra finally reuniting with her mother, now replaced with Chandra facing her greatest fear, seeing Nissa completed and lost to her. It was something she always knew was the truth, but seeing it, confronting it, has made it real. Oh, and I'm just gonna say, if we don't get a reprint of Fling, depicting either Chandra or Wrenn, or both just being launched into the sky, then I'm gonna say this is a huge flavor fail for March of the Machine. I actually can't believe how simple Urabrask's plan was. Just throw the pair over the army of Elesh Norn? Maybe in its simplicity, he thought Elesh Norn wouldn't expect it? Well, that obviously wasn't the case. Elesh Norn was very much prepared for this and executed a great defense. Can I just take a moment to complain about Urabrask in the story? He is our Phyrexian ally, but he doesn't seem to be doing much. He's aiding in the resistance, generally speaking, but where is his Furnace Phyrexians? But where are his Furnace Phyrexians? Do they fight alongside them? He's a Praetor, why isn't he fighting? Ever since he declared his partnership with the Planeswalkers in New Capenna, he's kinda just been guiding and not doing much else. You wanna fight for freedom? Well, I wanna see you fight, Furnace buddy. I'm starting to think that he is basically just a spy for Elesh Norn. I mean, Elesh Norn does know every plan before it actually happens, so I wouldn't be surprised if our ally Phyrexian is just a plain old bad Phyrexian. Anyway, it was good to see Koth and Malira still alive at least. So their plan is foiled, but Chandra is still powerful enough to sort of make it work on the fly. At the very least, she puts distance between the Phyrexians and Wrenn, so that she could attempt to bond with the invasion tree. Without a tree partner, Wrenn is very weak and her inner fire can consume her, so truly this is the final shot for both her and the multiverse. Anyway guys, that's going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, consider supporting us by leaving it a like, becoming a subscriber or member of the channel, leaving a super thanks, and of course, sharing it with friends. It all goes a long way in helping our community grow. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time guys, see ya!